I'm Jacob Hornberger, Libertarian candidate for president. After the 9/11 attacks, U.S. officials declared that the terrorists were motivated by hatred for America's freedom and values. It was a lie, and they knew it was a lie. They were motivated by hatred for this killing machine that Democrats and Republicans have converted the federal government into. And we can go back to terrorist attacks even before 9/11, when the terrorists were declaring that this is the reason they were waging war against the United States and the American people. 1993, the terrorists struck at the World Trade Center. It was no different in principle from the attack 8 years later. They attacked CIA agents outside CIA headquarters in that same year, 1993, and talked about the killing machine that the federal government had become in the Middle East. There was the attack on the USS Cole. There was the attacks on the U.S. embassies in East Africa, all before 9/11. And there were those of us who were saying that if you continue on this course with this federal killing machine in the Middle East, you're going to end up with a major terrorist attack on American soil. But they disregarded all those warnings. And then when the attack finally comes, they go off on this kick of freedom and values. And the war on terrorism, as we all know, has now become a perpetual racket, ongoing, never-ending. Among the biggest beneficiaries of this racket are the so-called defense contractors who have been feeding at the public trough for decades, going all the way back at least to the Vietnam War, where they sacrificed some 58,000 of my generation for nothing. And the beauty from their standpoint is that now that they've used NATO to gin up this crisis in Ukraine by absorbing Eastern European countries, countries that had formerly been members of the Warsaw Pact, they knew what they were doing. Russia had told them that was a red line. Don't cross this red line. They've been telling them that for 25 years. And they just smiled and crossed that red line, knowing exactly what Russia was going to do. And now they're celebrating the deaths of, tens of thousands, if not 100,000 Russian soldiers, all in the name of degrading Russia. And, more important, getting us ever closer, perilously closer, to nuclear war. Life-ending, earth-destroying nuclear war, just like they did back in 1962, prior to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Look what they've done with Guantanamo Bay. It's a disgrace. This is what happens in communist countries. They've been holding people for 20 years there without a trial, despite the constitutional requirement of a speedy trial. They have military tribunals instead of jury trials. And there's not a federal judge in the land that's going to shut that place down, because every federal judge in the land is scared to death of the Pentagon and the CIA and has long deferred to their authority within the federal governmental structure. We've got to bring an end to this. And the way we bring an end to it is we stop the federal killing machine from killing people in the Middle East and elsewhere. That's what gives rise to the anger and hatred, and then to the rise of this perpetual, ongoing, never-ending war on terrorism racket. If we're able to do that, bring all the troops home from everywhere, close all the foreign military bases, bring all the troops home, discharge them, restore a limited government republic to our land, we will be well on the road to establishing a society based on peace, prosperity, liberty, and harmony with the people of the world. I'm Jacob Hornberger, Libertarian candidate for president.